Today on Let's Wrap.
The blood brothers and blood sisters that they meet at camp become, because their own siblings may not have hemophilia. I think it prompts and inspires hope that was lost or forgotten. And I think we're remembering what that feels like.
From summer camp to vacations, families are traveling again. Darin Hollingsworth shares how to approach the return to travel with gratitude. And for families who have special circumstances, like living with hemophilia, how HPC's wraparound care model can benefit patients, even when they're far away from home. Today on HPC's Let's Wrap, we're talking again with Darin Hollingsworth. Darren, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be back in conversation with you.
Well, and it's particularly great to be in person. We are actually recording at HPC in Memphis, Tennessee, and great to see you in person, Darren.
It's wonderful. The return is finally happening, to be able to actually see people and do this kind of work together rather than entirely virtually. So it's great to be back.
I think at times we all wondered when it might happen.
I certainly did, because it is not my preference of working style at all. I would much prefer to be face-to-face when we can, and I'm really glad that we are.
We've talked a lot with you about gratitude. It's sort of one of your areas of expertise and your coaching. And I think one of the areas that a lot of us are going to experience, maybe this summer for the first time in a couple of years, is travel, vacation. We're seeing families and individuals get back to that. What are you seeing?
I'm definitely seeing it because I have a little side hustle of house and dog sitting. And so I enjoy it because it gives me time in a different venue with animals that I love, in addition to my own little dog. But I'm kind of booked for a lot of the summer, as much of the work that I can take on. And I think people are just happy to be able to get out and about, whether they're choosing a different way to travel or different kind of locations. But I've got friends doing it all, international travel and more domestic travel.
I can certainly say when I was driving to Memphis, I saw a lot of RVs, and it seemed like a lot of traffic anyway. Mm-hmm. So definitely people getting out there again.
I think we're definitely going to see more over-the-road travel, people who just don't want to spend the time in airports, the close proximity in airports, to have to mask for that long again. That was strange. My first air travel was only about a month ago, and it was odd for me, the whole experience of and I used to really anticipate air travel even for work with a lot of fun, but some people are just well on their way to enjoying a great summer vacation, and I think that's it lightens the air for all of us a little bit when people get time away. Self-care, we've talked about that some in some of our conversations, and self-care is so important.
And we know that a lot of those traveling will be HPC families, and they really rely on that wraparound care all of the time. But I think particularly in teaching them how they can leave home, or maybe leave their nurse, and leave those infusion areas in which they may need to go a lot of the time.
Well, I think there's this whole company provides such a family type care, and when you think of summer vacation, you think of family, and they have an extension of family in the nurses that have cared for them. But when they can really kind of go back to that family unit of parents and kids, that I think creates just a better summer for kids who have gone through a lot the past 2 years. So it'll be hopefully a fun summer for HPC families.
And another aspect of that are the camps. We know a lot of the states have a hemophilia camp, and it's my understanding most of them, if not all, will be back in person again.
And I think that's going to give kids so much to be grateful for, and touching some of the things that we've talked about before too, creativity. At all the camps, there's a creative expression or an ability to explore that with other kids who have hemophilia. And so I think that opportunity to extend family at the camps. I've heard Tim Andrews say the blood brothers and blood sisters that they meet at camp become, because their own siblings may not have hemophilia. So they meet others who are their age and dealing with some of the same things, and there'll be a lot to be grateful for there.
Creativity, always a big part of camp, but a big part of many people's lives. You talked about your own creativity and how you use that as an outlet. When kids are able to gather together and in person, how does that change creativity?
Well, I think it expands the opportunity for creativity, because what you see one kid being good at, you might be willing to try in that safe environment that you've never tried before, it may be something they do back home, but now you've met somebody that's more like you, and it could open up tons of windows for that affirmation of creative expression. May come in with writing. Maybe it's a kid writing about their experience in the camp environment. So there's lots of ways to express creativity, and I think beyond just like an arts and crafts time at camp, I think kids will be inspired by each other to grow in their wholeness at the camps from everything that I've heard about them.
And on the flip side of that, when kids couldn't be with one another, and maybe you're in your room, you've had to do virtual school, how important is creativity as an outlet there as well?
Oh, absolutely. Alone time can be very lonely, or it can be very useful and productive. And the mindset of that has to, a family has to help each other figure out how to navigate that. And I think that distinction is a really important one. Alone time does not necessarily have to be lonely. And filling alone time with something that fills your soul and your heart is incredibly important. And that gets to the conversation around self-compassion too, because when you're alone and you can be alone with yourself and be happy or be content, that is the baseline of self-compassion.
So we're going to see lots of kids at camp. We're going to see families out and about. How much will this help with just overall mental health? Not just children and adults with hemophilia and families, but overall everyone exercising the ability to travel and see things.
I think it prompts and inspires hope that was lost or forgotten. And I think we're remembering what that feels like. And I think that over the last 2 years, people have, thankfully, there have been more conversations around what it means to stay healthy in your mind, brain health. And I think by getting back together, humans are collective, collaborative creatures, and we're not meant to be alone. So by people getting out and exploring more, learning more, having fun, just get out and have fun again is going to help create a shift in the workplace and in the lives of the people that HPC serves and other companies that have had some sense of isolation from each other. I'm definitely excited about what the summer holds.
Do you think we will see still a lot of people traveling to maybe more remote outdoor areas, particularly those with hemophilia, others with compromised immune systems? There definitely was even more concern with COVID. So do you think people are still cautious even though they're returning to travel?
I think people who have dealt with chronic health issues on infection-related or other limiting aspects of chronic health issues are, my experience and observation anyway, would be that they're going to continue to be cautious. And I think there is something to be said for really not throwing caution to the wind, but overcoming some of the fears. I think we lived in a paralyzing fear for certainly those earliest months, and then so many people had to deal with grief or loss, either loss of experiences or loss of people in their lives. So coming back together, I think, is going to absolutely enliven us and give us some new challenges, because a lot of people that I know now, like myself, who have been vaccinated and boosted, you still might get it, but it's not the devastating outcomes, or at least what we're seeing so far, with no knock on wood, my head maybe, but that the devastating outcomes have really lessened, and that lightens people's hearts and minds, I think.
I don't know about anyone else, but sometimes I look at where we are right now, and it's almost surreal. It's like, did that really happen? And just processing all of it.
Yeah, you look at social media memories, for example, and how they pop up automatically sometimes, and you think, boy, how did we do that? And we didn't know how long it would last, and then it has still, for some people, not fully changed. And I think we've talked about, and I've talked about in my professional circles and otherwise, it will never be the same. And some of that's really good. People, families, like you said, going to remote locations, maybe more nature than other types of destination places. And figuring out that they can really enjoy each other by the time together may have opened up some wonderful new relationships and families.
Definitely. I think for a lot of people, it made us realize the more simple things in life and the importance of them, because we live in this world where we're all just moving at such a quick pace with so many things going on.
Absolutely. I think that when we were forced to slow down, I think some people did not know how to do that. They felt lazier, and that's where some of the kind of mental health community has seen people who got depressed during that time, thought that because they had never experienced it. But depression does not equal laziness, for example. And I think as people learned more about themselves, they just learned how to have fun with different things, either cooking or just time together. We still had our devices, right? But there wasn't, for part of that time, there wasn't new programming, because even Hollywood had to shut down some of that time. So it's fun to see it all kind of start to ripple outward.
When we're traveling this summer, how do we maintain that maybe sense of gratitude? It's sort of a renewed sense of gratitude for travel and maybe gathering with family again. But how do we maintain that moving forward?
It's conversations even like this, and just kind of being reminded, gratitude is not just for Thanksgiving, and having a practice. I find that everyone that I work with on a personal coaching level or in organizational culture, to kind of do this reset that a lot of organizations are having to do too, it's got to be maintained as a practice. It doesn't have to be a list. It may or may not involve an app, but keeping gratitude in the conversation. I know an increasing number of companies, whether they're going back to a hybrid meeting environment or a full in-person environment, or some are staying virtual because their workforce decided they wanted to stay virtual. Starting conversations in the workplace around gratitude are increasing, and people learning how to better appreciate each other, because, like we kind of alluded to earlier, there were things that we may not have appreciated as often or as much, that once we didn't have them, that we now appreciate more, and maybe we have better tools for expressing that. And I think staying curious, I love it. I've not seen much of the show. I've seen a couple of episodes, but I think Ted Lasso has brought to bear the be curious, not judgmental. And that's what I say about gratitude practice too, is stay curious, so that if it's not working for you, change it. And if it is, see what you can do to make it better.
Great advice for all of us as we enter summer and the travel season.
I think I'm looking forward to the summer again. I really am. I haven't in a while, and I don't have any big travel plans, but I hope that HPC families are ready to have a little fun and get out and support each other and have a great summer.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us. And this sort of leads into our topic next month, where we're going to talk about independence, around Independence Day, and some of the things that HPC provides for families and can give them that independence so they can travel and so kids can do those things that they enjoy so much.
Building their independence and their confidence. I think that's going to be a great conversation next month.
All right. Thank you so much, Darren.
You've been listening to HPC's Let's Wrap, a podcast by HPC Specialty Infusion for patients and providers. We're proud to specialize in patient health and happiness at hpcspecialtypharmacy.com or call 1-800-757-9192.